We are so excited today because we have Bill and Anna in the hot seat for the Shifting Focus podcast. And I know you met them briefly. We met them at the pickleball courts. You guys were kicking butt over there.
Right.
Yeah. And so we got to learn a little bit about what you all do within the community and with Rocket Fuel Coaching. You guys really break down and dissect people's personalities, and you help us understand who we are and why we respond and react the way we do. Yeah. So we actually took a test.
Yep. And we're here to get our results.
And what better people than the experts to help us with that? And then I know you've got a really great background in military, and you guys are doing a lot of work within building up mentorship through Disciple. You guys are just incredible human beings in the community, and I can't wait for people to learn about your stories.
Great, thanks. Great to be here.
Yeah,
It's
welcome.
Nice to be here, thanks.
Yeah. So I don't know who wants to start or how y'all met.
How
Dive
we
in.
got into this.
Yeah.
What brought us to Rocket Fuel?
Why don't you start?
Well, I'm older.
Me too. How much older?
Yeah, I was 5 years.
Me too. Yes,
Yeah.
girl.
The right number. Always marry
lean
out.
over, but-
you
That's
look better.
That's right.
So I joined the military after I got out of college.
Which branch?
As a nurse, Army.
Okay.
So after I got out of the military, while I was in, I got involved with a group called the Navigators at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And as a result of several women investing in my life, I learned I wanted to invest in other women's lives too, through discipling them and mentoring them. So I got out of the military in 1988 and moved back to Fort Campbell, Kentucky. I'd been away from there for 5 years to learn how to help women. And at that time, Bill was stationed there. And I don't know when we met exactly. The first time we really talked was at a friend's wedding. And I thought,
military friend
this is a
too?
nice
military
guy,
friend.
but not the guy for me.
Tricks
Did
on
a
you.
different
Tricks
vision
on
in
me.
life, you know. But he had a nice smile and nice biceps.
And that's all it took.
That's all that matters.
Solid
That's all
tip.
we need.
He kept smiling at me.
Yeah,
I
water
don't know what
down.
to say.
Every time you looked over, you just smiled and flexed.
I have woo. I wooed her over.
That's right.
So, well, in one of his stories, we had in the Army, they have several chapels on base. Air Force, you usually only have one. So he chose to go to a chapel where no girls went. So because he didn't want to be distracted, and he was trying to get serious. But so everybody would go to Dairy Queen afterwards, and that's where we kind of met and got to know each other a little bit, and then through some conferences and things.
What was the moment where you were like, okay, fine?
After he left.
You're like, wait, where'd that guy go with the biceps?
Actually, it is funny, you know, because we talk about this. During our dating period, we actually didn't hold hands or kiss. So, but he was leaving to go to Honduras, and he hugged me. That was like the end for me, you know, because it just turned on a lot of physical feelings too. Because I liked him, but I wasn't sure. But we decided we'd write letters. This is back before they had computers in people's homes or cell phones. So we wrote letters, and we did do a
Dear
call
sweet
once
Bill.
a week.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because we both wrote each other every day, not planning on that, you know, which is kind of like, I was so embarrassed when I realized I'd done it. But then I got a package of letters from him, and I was like, oh, he's writing me too. This is okay.
Do you still have all the letters?
Yeah, we do.
We do.
We do.
We're in Honduras back in the day, right? So the mail would only come once a week. So then I had done the same thing. I wrote letters, and then about the 5th or 6th day, I'm like, okay, I got to stop writing. I'm not getting nothing back, right? And then I got a letter in the mail. I thought, oh, I got like 5 letters. Like, oh, she must like me okay too. So I wrote again for another few days, and then every week or so we get these packages, you know.
That's so funny because
Yes.
times are the same today, but with technology.
With
Because now you
technology.
send text, and it's like, maybe I'm texting too much. I should stop. I'm
Yeah.
not getting a response.
Yeah.
Right? Ooh,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then it says dot, dot, dot. If only you saw dot, dot, dot in the letter.
Yeah.
you'd
They
know.
haven't responded in a minute and a half. Did I do
Exactly.
that too quickly?
Right.
It's like too
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah.
Am I
Yeah.
too forward?
Are you from Kentucky?
No, I'm from Missouri, and
Okay.
he's from Ohio.
And I'm from Ohio.
Oh, cool. So you guys
Yeah.
have
Oh,
similar.
yeah.
OH, baby, we're
We
going to
actually-
win, we hope.
We have
That's going to be fun. Notre Dame in there is interesting too.
Should be a good
It
game.
makes it
Great game.
fun.
We have very similar backgrounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He grew up on a smaller farm than I do. I lived on a smaller farm than I do. I was a farm girl with 4 older brothers and 1 sister. Wow. And my mom was a school teacher. My dad was a mechanic. So not a very wealthy lifestyle, you know. And his dad.
He was GS-10 by the time he retired, just with Air Force work. And there was a little teeny base, and he fixed Minuteman I rocket modules that would do guidance. That's what he did his whole life. He just fixed those, right? So we lived in this little town, and I lived outside we lived actually in a pretty good sized city, but because my parents didn't want us to go to the city school that was there, because it's like 1,000 kids, lots of drugs, lots of stupid stuff, we moved a mile outside of the town, and then I had to take a bus 11 miles. So, but it was good. Went to school. I think we graduated 1:30, so it was a pretty small country
130?
school.
That was your high school graduation?
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
Mine was 200.
Mine
so
was
similar.
50.
You know,
But my high school is huge now. I was just the
Right.
first graduating class.
Oh, that's
wow.
funny.
It was a brand new school, so we wanted to go get all the new stuff.
That's funny.
So it was
Yeah.
200 or just under, but now I bet it's just giant.
Right.
Wow.
Way
Right.
different.
Possibly. Yeah.
So
Yes.
does your story line up with the way she says it also?
Yeah, it does. I grew up in a like I said, small town. Didn't go to church much. I went a little bit because girls were there, and this pastor would pick me up. I thought, whatever, especially at church camp. I get off the farm, right? Because we work all the time.
Yeah.
And so I got in junior high probably. I was like, this is dumb. I'm not going to do this. And I wasn't real impressed. Most Christians I met were kind of weird. And my friends who were like Christians, their parents didn't look any different than my parents. And my friends in college surely did not look any different than I was. And I was doing dumb stuff. And so I at 19, I went to college for a year. And then at 19, there's an Army has a high school to fly school program. And I thought, sign up. Maybe they'll let me go. And I got you have to get a 90 on the fast test. I got a 90. And they said, hey, you want to come? I was like, really? Okay, sure. And I had only flown one time in my life, and I'm afraid of heights a bit. So it was an interesting thing, but all in. So, it's either finish flight school or go to the infantry. So I'm going to finish flight school. So I did that. And then my first duty station, like she said, was Fort Campbell. And we did that. And my first platoon leader actually was probably the first godly guy I'd ever met who was not a pastor, who wasn't really weird. And a good friend of mine died in a crash, and it really jacked me up because I thought, I'm 21, I'm a Blackhawk pilot, I'm a warrant officer, I'm making lots of money, I'm making more money than my parents have ever made. Man, I got the world by by the teeth, and I was empty. Every time I succeeded at something, I'm, just super empty. And that's why when I met her, well, I'm empty being a pilot in the Army. I'll go fly jets in the Air Force. That will make me feel fill that hole. And Buddy dies in a crash. And then my friend Henry, who was my platoon leader, just encouraged me to read the Bible. I'm like, oh, that's not going to help. Yeah. Well, how will that help? That's stupid. And I was wrong. As I got into it, I saw that Jesus was a lot like Henry was. And Jesus was a lot different than most of the Christians I met. And I thought, Henry has an amazing life. He's very honest. He's, somebody stole his 76 Corvette, and it was worth like 20 grand. And they gave him 10 because it was a antique, so they didn't give him the full value. And he's just like, guess I didn't need it anyway. I'm like, how are you not like living at the insurance? So I got to Fort Campbell, and after I made a commitment to Christ, I started going to these Bible studies because I thought if you're a Christian, it should be a good one.
And you thought it was for navigators.
Yeah, actually, these guys, I thought they were
Pilots.
right? Navigators. I thought they were pilots.
Yeah.
They're not pilots. Just a bunch of yahoos.
Just navigate where you should go.
Yeah, exactly. Just trying to figure out how to help people really integrate spiritual life with their physical life, and then live whole life. How do you deal with your finances and relationships, and how does life not hurt so much? How do you get out of life in the long run by saying no? Just like working out, right? If I want to stay in shape, I'm 58. If I want to stay in shape, I work out 5 hours a week. That's just what I do. And if I don't do that, I won't be in shape. It's that simple. And so I met her. I had stopped dating for about a year because I was doing dumb things, and I was trying to make it better. And then I started dating girls in the ministry because I felt like, I can handle this okay right now. And I was really careful. I had kind of made a list of what I wanted, and then I just started dating girls. Hey, you want to go out? And I'd ask them questions. Nope. Next. Hey, you want to go out? Nope.
Speed
Next.
dating.
Speed dating, right?
On your own terms.
Old time.
Old time. Yeah. And actually, I was getting ready to leave for four months for a deployment, come back for 2, and leave for a year for Korea. So actually, I asked Anna out, and I thought, well, she's much more godly than I am. She's older. She's never going to want to go out with me, but I might as well ask. So I did, and we had went out once, kind of. She came for this cookout with a friend of mine. She said, sure, but it took us like 2.5 or 3 weeks to actually be able to go out. And
based on our schedule.
Based on our schedule, because
Sure.
we're both. She's working 3 jobs, and I'm busy. I'm flying all kinds of crazy hours. And then we weren't going to say no to some things we were doing, so we went out maybe 4 or 5 times. I don't know.
Yeah.
But whatever, we went on dates. They were go out for dinner or a meal and walk and talk. And that's what we did. And then I went to Honduras thinking, she's really nice. I like her. She's cool. We didn't make any promises because we didn't feel like we're at that place. But then we started writing, and I think through our letters, I just really fell in love with her. And then I came back, and I had 2 months. And, we joke about this now. I kind of like, hey, what do you think you're going to be doing after I get back from Korea? And she's like, why are you asking? Yeah, why are you asking?
I didn't say this. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And then I'm kind of like, well, that stinks.
You're hoping for a different answer.
I'm hoping for an answer, waiting and pining away for you, right?
Standing by the door,
Right.
looking at the trees.
Writing you letters every day, baby.
Exactly. So
Watching the wind go by.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I don't want to lose her, so I can't make her wait for a year without a promise. So I just thought, well, I'll pray about it, prayed about it, and felt like God said yes. So I asked her to marry me. And
Before you left?
before I left,
before we left.
she said yes, and we made a plan to get married a year later.
When he came back from
When I
Korea.
come back from Korea, because actually we invest in people, so we have people live in our home. So I wanted to live with the guy who was investing in us before I got married.
Yeah.
Well, I got to Korea and I'm like, oh, this is terrible. Like 1 or 2 days, I'm like, this is terrible. I don't want to do this. And she had been in Korea, command sponsored as a captain, and all these yahoos have these privates and lieutenants have their wives there. I'm like, I could do that.
Yeah.
They're not allowed because we're on command sponsored, right? But I'm like, I don't care. Rules. I don't care about rules. So I was like, hey, do you want to, if I come home in 4 months at Mentor, that's as soon as I come home, you want to get married, come back and stay with me? And we took about a week or two and she said yes. That was probably the longest time I've ever had to wait for anything. She said yes. I'm like, yes. She planned the wedding. I came home, picked her up. We went to Hawaii for 2 weeks and then went to Korea. Wow. And then we basically, because I was there during
Desert Storm.
Desert Storm 1.
Desert Storm.
I got stop lost. So like at 3 or 4 months after we got married, they said, hey, you're in def. You're going to stay in Korea until we need you to leave. We don't know how long that will be. It might be 5 years. And so we're like, oh, okay, whatever. And so we had 2 years. We eventually, the war was really quick, so it got stopped. And then I actually came back at the end of my tour for a 4-month course. And then we went back again for another year. So we were 2 years honeymoon and just hanging out, goofing
in
off.
Korea?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Were you still enlisted at this point?
No,
too?
I was out
Yeah, she
of
was
the
out.
military.
Okay.
She was
yeah.
on vacation at that
Yeah.
point.
I'd been in the reserves, but I went in active reserves because they didn't have a unit in Korea.
Yeah, and she was a captain.
But had
officer
they
in the Army.
had I stayed active reserves, I probably would have gotten called back up to active duty
Yeah.
for the Desert Storm.
So you guys would have
I
been
was really
stationary.
thankful. I feel like God just didn't let them find me
Yeah.
because a lot of people inactive went back to active reserves,
Yeah.
but they didn't contact me. And I know the government can find me.
Yeah.
I know
You
they
know
can
where you
find
are.
They do.
Liam
They
Neeson.
do. They
Exactly.
know.
Yeah.
I'll hunt you down.
Yeah, how come? I will find you. How
Yeah.
how was Korea? I mean, from a
It's not the
non-military.
United States.
Yeah.
So I lived there almost 3 years, honestly, because I was there 1 year active duty and then 2 years with him. And it was harder, I think, when I went back with him because it's just, you're kind of on the outskirts because I did have privileges on base, but you're still like not in the military, so you're not
Yeah.
treated
And they don't
the
really
same.
want you there.
Yeah.
So why is your?
Really?
Oh yeah, I had
So-
They're
multiple
already
times.
being lenient with you enough, probably.
Yeah.
Why-
Well, and I had to
You
deal
know your
more
wife's
with
not supposed to be
riding on
here.
Korean buses
Okay.
Yeah.
and things like that. So once I was getting on the bus because I did laundry on base, I had a basket of stuff and I set it on the bus. And I know the bus driver did not see that I was not on the bus, but he started going. And I was like, Adashi! And he stopped. But it was just like it almost had me in tears because he did it on purpose. And I know he didn't.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things. The thing I think it taught me the most is in the Bible it says, this is not our home. We're aliens and strangers here. And we were aliens in Korea.
Yeah.
We're foreigners. We are the foreigners. But often when we go to a foreign country, we want to treat them like they're the foreigners. Right?
Yeah, good
Well,
point.
So, and I think after about 7 months or so, I don't know, I realized this is never going to be the United States. I need to get over myself
Yeah.
and
You
accept
expect
it
hospitality
and enjoy it.
on
Yeah.
Yeah.
this, But
Yeah.
they're like, no, just Join in with the community.
It's the old joke. We lived in Germany too, right? Americans, if a foreigner comes to America, they're like, hey, you need to speak my language, right? And if we go to Germany, Americans think, hey, you need to speak my language, right?
True.
We're a little bit egocentric.
Entitledness.
Yeah, a little egocentric.
Like, English,
please.
Yeah.
Why don't you know?
Korea's on the top of my list of places to go.
It was really
Korea.
cool.
I've had some great experiences there.
The food,
the food is
good
awesome.
fried chicken.
Yeah,
I always see.
Actually, I've
fried
never
chicken.
had fried chicken.
Bulgogi, baby.
No.
Barbecue, Mongolian barbecue. Oh my gosh, so good.
Yeah, I always.
I'm sure they have fried chicken. I just never had it.
We watch a lot of Korean. I watch a lot of Korean shows. I'm
She's
obsessed.
Watching those shows all the time.
I love the Korean shows.
I just
They're
hear it from the other room.
chicken.
There's just like a Korean language going on.
You can
in the
learn a
background.
lot.
You
Yeah.
can.
My 70-year-old neighbor loves Korean shows.
They're so good. They're really good.
They are.
I've been watching those and just
Listening
trying to
to
learn
music.
recipes and K-pop music. And we were supposed to go in September,
How
but a girlfriend of mine backed out. Yeah, 'cause we
Yeah.
like the Korean skincare, but
It was cool too because we're military and I have a military haircut, you know. So we'd have older Koreans that were older past the Korean War. They'd just come up and be like, "Oh, thank you very much." I'm like, I didn't do anything, you know.
Right.
But they were
your
super
country.
appreciative that, and a lot of those people have relatives that are they've been separated for 70 years, whatever.
because they're stuck in North Korea.
Because they're stuck in North Korea and
oh
can't
my
get
gosh, North Korea. Yeah, that's
Because when they
We're talking
closed
about
it, they closed it.
Did you
Rogan's
learn
podcast.
a lot about it while you were there? Did the locals or anybody you know talk about it? Like any of the North Korean culture versus South Korean culture?
Not a lot. You know, most of the people I met who had relatives were just sad that they can't see their relatives. We did, you know, in the military, we know. It was crazy up there. You can get shot for having transistor radio.
wow. Yeah,
That's the kind of place it is. And it's, you know, what they show on the news and what actually goes on. There's a lot of poverty. It's like most countries that have a lot of oppression. So there's all these show cities. I mean, they have cities that don't have people into them. They'll truck them in and then do, you know, propaganda stuff and then pump them
News
back
is on,
out.
so show people walking.
Yeah,
down
show
the
people
street.
walking down the
Yeah.
street,
So
all the stuff you
terrible.
need.
Is it
And
really
no
like
one lives there.
Either you're super wealthy or nothing type
100%.
thing? There's like no middle
100%.
class
in
whatsoever.
North Korea. You're
Yeah.
saying? Yeah.
And South Korea is like a third world country that got pushed into the first world. It's really interesting because, like in Seoul, we lived in Seoul, and like there's huge high rises, right? And then there's Adachi driving his little one-eyed dragon, and they have this tractor that's got a one eye, you know, one light, and it's got two wheels, doing their doing the patties. Or they'll have cows like in this little paddock that are just right here beside all this other stuff. So it was really interesting.
Tuk street meat, but it's in high-rise New York City vibe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it would be like
Thailand and
seeing
New York
cows in
together.
New York City, right?
Yeah.
Like or guys plowing their little field in that's
Yeah.
only 300 feet
Yeah,
square or whatever.
That's wild.
Did you listen to the Rogan podcast with the woman from North Korea? What was her name?
I haven't yet.
She told the whole story because she crossed and ended up. I forget where she ended up in China.
She was China as a slave.
Then they tried. She was a sex slave for like months, and then she escaped. But she was talking about eating like family eating rats and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And the rats
Yeah.
eating the
people.
dead people
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
were dead on the road. Then she was trying to get through.
Yeah,
and
it's
they would
crazy.
eat those rats, and people would get sick.
Yeah.
And it was
Oh, yeah.
like
Terrible.
trash. She was
Nothing.
like, I didn't even know what trash was until I came to the United States.
That's what we ate.
What is
She
trash?
came to America and somebody was like asked about.
Throw
Or
away
she
paper.
went to their apartment and saw the bin and said, "What's that?" And they said, "That's the garbage." And she's like, "What's garbage?"
Because they don't throw anything.
They don't
away.
have leftover stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like when
Throw
you're
anything
given
away.
something, you just
keep it.
eat it or keep it.
You use
She's like, "We
everything,
don't get
yeah.
rid of things. What do you mean? You just throw stuff away?" in
It's
America?
fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking about the Rogan podcast earlier about things like we were talking about Mel Gibson and the Zuckerberg one that just
Mel
came
Gibson's
out.
already fun.
Yeah.
It is fun, isn't it?
Yeah, he's
we
a
were saying
wild man.
like he's so looked down upon because he's speaking out. He's more of a conservative speaker in
Yes.
Hollywood, and
Yeah.
it's just interesting how they slapped him in this certain category and just made him leave.
Yeah, when you can see Rogan moving too, like he's moving from he never left from being a liberal. He was always a liberal, just like Elon Musk.
Yeah.
The
party
left him, but then I think over the last few years he's starting to see, man, these are people who are, whatever, crazy, and so he's like, well, no, I believe in these, business things, and kind of like Trump did, right? He was a liberal when he came in office the first time, but
The list goes on.
he was conservative as a business owner, but he was socially liberal.
Yeah.
Yes.
And all three of those guys are moving to the right because you start to realize, I worked in Congress for 2 years, right?
Did you?
I did. This was 2019-20. But one of the things I learned was, this is my favorite little quote. I think it won't be wrong.
COVID, you're fine.
He says, if you're in your 20s and you're not a liberal, then you're heartless. But if you end up in your 40s or 50s and you're not conservative, you're probably dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
You know, because you start to realize in life that there's all these promises that just are a fairy tale that aren't true as you enter life and try to figure out how to work things out. You know, we believe a lot of stuff at 19, like our son would tell us, you know, you're not very smart. And then around 22, he's like, Dad, adulting is hard. Like, I agree, and it gets worse.
Yeah.
So it's not
So
even
true.
it's not even hard for you yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
know, so.
It's having a little compassion for the younger generation.
Yeah, and being
hard. They
kind
have
to
to go
people.
through it
When
and
when you're arguing or they're trying to argue with you and tell you how you're wrong, it's hard to not be like, just wait.
Okay,
See?
hope that works out.
He'd like to be told wrong.
That's right.
It came up for you on your chart here.
I can't wait.
The rule-
So we're talking about it. Let's dive in.
Okay.
Let's
You
do
Well,
wanna
and I
dive
can
in?
tell you how we got here. So
Yes, let's do
we
that.
did 10 years. I did 10 years in the Army because we got involved with the Navs, and I really like helping people. I love serving people, and when we serve them, we see their lives transform, right? That we did that while we're in. And then I was in for 10, and I decided to get out and come on staff with the Navs, and we've been on staff with this nonprofit for, I don't know, 35 years. I don't know, 97. I got out in
Close,
97.
yeah.
Whatever that number is, I can't do public math.
Yeah, before 97.
Yeah.
Yeah, how about then? Yeah.
And then we got training for 3 years at Pope Air Force Base. We're at Fort Bragg, our last duty station. And then we had an opportunity. We prayed, and we were infertile we tried for about 7 or 8 years. And then a friend of ours called and said, "Hey, would you like a baby?" at 2 a.m. one day. I was like, "You're selling them?"
I forgot about this story.
Right?
This one's
What do you
good.
mean?
We
Yeah,
gotta
you're
talk
selling
about
them,
this.
right?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
we're
yeah,
both
yeah,
up
yeah.
playing video games. I have no idea why we're playing video games at 2 in the morning,
which
but we
is
were.
Not us.
And someone calls and asks if you want to.
Yeah, and John, he goes, "Hey, actually, first he's like, hey, is Anna there?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Can she come on the line?" I'm like, "Oh my God, his wife died. I think his wife died. Penny probably died." So we get the other phone. And he's like, "Hey, so there's this." He's a OBGYN. "Hey, we have this girl, and she's going to have a baby, and we were going to take them and adopt them. They had adopted another child like that before, but we felt like you should have it if you wanted it. So we know you'd like a baby, so would you be interested in adopting this baby?" And I'm like, "Maybe. Like, when do you think she's going to have it?" He's like, "Oh, probably in the morning." I'm like, "Bro, seriously? Well, can I pray about it?" He's like, "Yeah, as long as you get it by 7:30, because if she walks out the door and does not sign paperwork, that goes to, social services." And so we kind of prayed about it, and we're like, "Well, if she signs paperwork, we'll try it." And
Actually, it's not. We had to decide before she would sign paperwork.
oh yeah.
And she hadn't met you guys yet?
No,
or
Well,
did
she
want to meet with
did
you?
not want to
No.
meet us. She wanted to close the adoption.
completely closed.
And I feel like this is another big God story for me. It's like she didn't even know she was pregnant until like maybe the month before.
Whoa.
She had no
She didn't
prenatal care,
she
so
wasn't
she had no
showing or
far
anything.
along.
And she was still having
She didn't know how
cycles.
far along she
Wow.
was.
She was like 8 months when she found out she was
Yeah.
pregnant?
Still cycling.
And so when she came to the hospital, they had no idea how old the baby was
Yeah.
or what sex, which was kind of cool since
Yeah, yeah.
we were going to get a
Surprise,
baby.
surprise.
Ta-da,
Yeah.
here's a baby.
So
It's a boy. It's a girl. It's up to
when
you.
they sent her to a bigger hospital just because of that, because they wanted to be able to care for the baby in case something was going on. So he was born in a Jewish hospital around 3 p.m.
Wow.
Yeah.
How
And
cool.
he was perfectly normal and full term.
No
No
problems.
problems. You know.
And now he's 26, doing great. So
Yeah. Yeah.
That is
Soon
so
to be
cool.
27.
27.
So
yeah,
what, you guys
crazy.
just said, okay, let's do it?
Well,
and
it was
then
kinda
there's
crazy.
more to it than
Yeah.
that.
Well, because we kind of had, before we called John back and said, "Hey, if she says yes, we'll do it." So for me, I like digital switches with God,
Yeah.
because I don't know. I mean, we did our due diligence, but I just came out of the Army. We've got some savings, but I don't have $15,000 or $20,000. I don't know. And even my buddy, I was like, "John, I don't think I don't know, man. How much will this cost?" He's like, "Oh, probably about $1,500. I'm like, "Well, I can probably scrounge that up." He's like, "Hey, don't worry about it. If it's extra, we got a big tax break and it'll be fine." I'm like, "John, what if it's like $10,000 or $15,000? He's like, "Well, we got 45 back." So, okay. So, and no kidding, we thought, well, here we go. So she said yes sometime that day or
Actually,
the next.
she had the baby. She had to leave.
Yeah,
She didn't
and-
sign paperwork for 2 days.
That's right.
She had
So
to
she had
leave?
to come back in Missouri.
She had to
Every
come
state's
back.
different. She had to come back Sunday afternoon and sign the paperwork. So, and our lawyer
Oh,
did an adoption for them. He was not
Yeah.
an adoption lawyer.
No.
Our son was his second adoption instead of 8 years.
he was kind of a Debbie Downer.
So he called us and said, well, the mom had to go home from the hospital, and if she doesn't come back, the baby will go to social services, you won't get him, So
Wow, wow.
I
But she
feel like
did.
God gave me a verse or a passage from Mark where Jesus is talking to the disciples and he tells them, "Come, get into the boat and let's go to the other side." of the Sea of Galilee. So they get into the boat, and a big storm comes up, and they all think they're going to die. And I felt like God was saying, I'm taking you on a journey. There may be some storms, but I'm going to get you to where I want you to go. So for me, I had peace because I didn't know if we were going to get him, honestly.
No promise.
But I didn't want to stew about it all weekend, and I didn't want to be anxious, and I felt like he just gave me peace to trust him. And she came back Sunday afternoon and signed the paperwork. Wow.
And
no
so,
problems, no questions asked. Yeah.
Wow.
And so Monday, I start getting on the phone, calling everybody, trying to figure out what do I need to do.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it was crazy. I probably had a list of 100 things we had to do, and we did all this stuff. We got 2 home visits. We'd never had a home visit, right? So we expedited that and got 2 of those done in 2 weeks. And we showed up at my friend's house. He let us stay with him for 3 months.
Almost 2 months.
2 months.
About 2.
Whatever it was.
Was adoption ever a thought on your radar?
Yeah, it
Kinda
was.
thought
But
about
for
it,
me,
sure.
I thought because I couldn't get pregnant, what God doesn't want us to have kids.
Yeah, that's like the natural thing to
You
do
know?
in your
And
mind.
So I didn't
Yeah.
want to force it.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought if God wants us to have a baby through adoption, he's going to have to hit me with a bolt of lightning and have me a baby on a silver platter.
Here you go.
Ta-da.
2
Careful
a.m.
what you wish
$2.
for.
Phone call came.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is
So
so cool. You
We
guys.
saw him at 2 weeks. 2 weeks? And
We
we
we took him to a science
took him home
museum.
in a month.
Were you just instantly in love when you saw
yeah,
him?
it
Were you
was
like,
the
this is our
best.
child?
It was the
Yeah.
best.
No, no, I'm
No?
sorry. It wasn't.
Yeah, that's I appreciate
It
the
wasn't
honesty.
because it was kind of like, I don't know. And I was, because I think, and he cried. I didn't think he liked me, but I think he was a newborn and he knew he was staying with a foster mom and he knew her voice already at 2.5 weeks. It's because she said something. I was holding him. He started crying.
Like she's
So,
over there.
and then like a lot of babies, if they're overstimulated, they get fussy. And so he was, but we got custody at 4 weeks.
Mhm.
And
Then
we had to
wait
wait
another
in
month.
Missouri another 4 weeks. Well, it wasn't as 4 weeks exactly, but they had to make
Court
an
date.
agreement with North Carolina because we lived in North Carolina to do an interstate adoption, so that
Oh my
if something happened
gosh.
when we got back to North Carolina would take care of some things, right?
Right.
So, but my friend Penny, who had 2 children at this point, would just take him and wrap him up and, hold him. And I do remember one of the first times he told me he loved me. It was like so sweet, because he was probably like a little over 1, but it was just like, oh my gosh, So it's like I don't worry about him not liking me anymore.
Yeah, but I'm sure it was a journey and a
Oh,
roller
it was.
coaster.
Yeah,
and
because
what a-
I think I know some women, and it's funnily enough, when you go through labor, you produce oxytocin, which bonds
Happy
you
drug.
with the baby.
Yeah, I'm learning all about it
Yeah.
right now.
So it's a
Same with
good
you when you
thing
lay 'em on
because
your
it
head,
makes
on
you
your
feel
chest.
closer to your baby.
Skin,
And actually,
skin to
women who
skin.
have
Skin to skin.
C-sections don't get the same amount of that. Or if you're induced, it doesn't produce the same. Well, you do produce it naturally when you have intimacy with people. So, in marriage, you have that with your husband and you gain it with your babies too. But, so I think it was, it's just one of those things it grew on me. But by the time we finished the adoption in 6 months, we had to wait 6 months to finalize the adoption.
You had him though in your custody at this point.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
our
Okay, good,
custody,
good,
but
good.
she could have still come back and said no.
Well, the only up to a certain
Certain point.
That I forget how long it was before, how long she had to say she changed her
can
mind.
change
And you
Yeah.
never heard
Yeah.
you never heard
No.
a word from her.
But it was interesting because I remember when we were at the courthouse finalizing the adoption. So the baby had a lawyer, we had a lawyer. Everybody had a lawyer.
You're a lawyer.
Sir, my client clearly wants to go home with
Well,
to go home
they
with
had
this
to have
couple.
someone.
Advocate.
Look out for
Yeah.
advocate for
So
them.
I heard this guy tell the other lawyer, "Oh, do you know who this is? Like whose baby it was? Because it's like her parents didn't know she had a baby."
Right.
And I thought if she shows up, she's going to want him
like the
because he was
grandparents.
so cute.
Yeah.
We'll show you a picture of him later.
Yeah.
He was
Send us a picture.
just-
We'll pop it up
oh,
on the
so
screen.
cute.
Yeah.
But yeah. So honestly, it went smoothly. We finalized our adoption the day John Glenn went back up into space. In 1990 in September.
Wow,
I think it was the
cool.
29th.
What a great story.
Yeah. So, but that was just, to me, it was just like, I've learned I have to keep my hope in God and not in my circumstances. And I don't think
true.
this is backtracking. The July, before we found out about him, I've been told I was in menopause at 36.
Was that something that was hereditary, or is it just
No,
random?
my sister and my mom both had babies. Yeah. Everybody had babies. But,
What a horrible
yeah.
thing to have to process. Not horrible,
Yeah, well, I
but
just think, for me, I
Oh,
think
that's the baby.
That's the baby.
that's
so
the baby.
cute.
The big bear that is a baby. Right?
You're going to have to send that to us so we can
That's
put
so
it up on
great.
the screen.
I'll do
What
it.
a cutie.
I think God wanted me to, what was I going to say? To have Samuel.
Samuel, what a good name.
Because I don't know that I would have adopted a child and gotten him if I'd had my own baby.
right.
So I think
He's
God
meant to be
wanted
yours.
me to be his mom.
Yeah. Isn't it fun how babies can come through other people and like still be like they're meant to be yours, but they
Yeah.
they have to come
Yeah.
through somebody else.
Well, and it's
Do you
really
have a baby picture of him?
I do. It's really funny.
That's what I was looking
Wait, that
for.
wasn't
A
him at
baby
was
picture.
1997?
I don't think y'all can see it, but it was like a
He was
20.
Throw it
a
up on the
huge
screen.
whale.
Oh, that's a good
That's
one,
my
yeah.
fear.
Anyway, 2 weeks old. That's
Oh,
him.
he's
That's it.
so
Aw.
cute.
2 or 3 months.
Look at you guys. You want to
back
turn
in
it
our
towards that
children, yeah.
camera? They could take a little peek.
I say,
So
either way.
cute. Yeah. We'll have to.
And I'll show you
I'll
the
put
other
it
one.
up there too.
Yeah, we'll pop it up.
Yeah.
That's
How
so good.
fun. And did you guys, so at 36, you were like, okay, this is a blessing. We need to take advantage of this and just kind of sit still and
Well,
trust God. And
With adoption, well, for me, it was like I remember reading one day in church,
That's
not
the
listening to the sermon,
uh-huh.
about Elizabeth and Sarah
I'll send those to you.
in the Bible. And both of them had gone through the age of childbearing, and God enabled them to get pregnant. So I remember thinking, like, well, I'm beyond the age of childbearing. God can still do it if He wants to, but I didn't know if He would, And sometimes I'll tell people, it's like, I wanted a little loaf of bread, and I feel like God gave me the whole bakery.
No, that's so sweet. I love
So,
this. And then how'd you guys get into disciple work from
Yes,
there?
so from the
Because-
Army first, and then when we had just come on staff before we adopted him, and then we basically went through 3 years of training at Fort Bragg, and then we went to Germany. The Navigators asked us to move to Germany to take over a base in Spangdahlem, and basically what we would do is work with the Air Force chapel system, helping them with their singles programs, and then we'd meet people and befriend them and be nice to them and tell them they should read the Bible with us, and sometimes they do, and then they get snookered, and then they come to Jesus, and it changes, radically transforms their life.
Yeah.
And so we've done that for, like I said, for about 35 years. We did that at Spang, Spangdahlem, Germany, for about 6 years. Then we came here because this is the largest Air Force population outside of San Antonio. That's not a training base.
Wow.
So we came here because of the 2 bases. We worked on Hurlburt for about 7 years with the chapel as well, doing the same thing. It's kind of funny, actually. We built a coffee house in Spangdahlem, Germany, through the chapel system. And we moved here, and then actually we felt like God was kind of encouraging us to move into the city, to go out into the city. And one of my guys I was working with had been at Militia Fitness with Jordan Bowen, and his name is Jacoby Kendrick. And he's like, you should come and help Jordan, because Jordan, he knows Jesus and he needs some help. And I'm like, I don't think so.
We're trying
I
to
don't-
get them on the
I don't know if I
podcast.
want to do that, because I don't think he likes me very well. And,
Yeah.
and I don't know. It seems like a big pull. And he's like, you should pray about it. You told me to pray about stuff. Just pray about it. So I literally started praying, and I thought, CrossFit's really expensive. We're missionaries. CrossFit's really expensive. It's like a car payment.
Yeah.
And so I kind of prayed for a price that I thought I could afford, which was less than the going price. And I thought, well, I'll do a workout.
And you wanted to ask me too, remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ask her. That didn't help. Because, let's go. I'm like, can I catch a break? So I kind of prayed for a specific price. We went and did a workout. How much is it? The price I told you? Seriously? I cannot catch a break. And, at the time, part of it, I'm 45, I'm 30 pounds overweight, I'm hypertensive. My back hurts, my neck hurts. I'm just not in a very good place. And I thought I might go there and have a heart attack and die, and I didn't want to do that. And instead,
And pay for it too. You gotta pay.
right, and
pay to do
pay a
it.
lot of money to do that.
Yeah.
And instead, in about 6 months, it radically changed our diet, our health. We are the strongest we've probably ever been in our life. Earlier in the year, I benched 305. I'm 58.
Oh my goodness.
So we're in good shape, right? And as it's kind of crazy, right? I go to try to help this guy Jordan, which I did, and we've seen God do crazy stuff through the gym. And I mean, that's how you know Alex and Kristen, right? But God sent me to help him, but I think God sent us to help us. So one of the big lessons over 40 years is that you think you're doing God a favor by going and helping people. he's actually trying to do you a favor to change you into the person you could be if you'll just let him. And we've invested in so many people. We have so many friends, so many places. You just can't keep up with them all because you invest deeply for a while and they become like children to you. Not children, but like adult children to you. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And then about 7 years, I guess, 8 years ago, Dave with the coaching, Dave Mead. I have a good friend named Dave Mead, and he started a coaching company called We Align Coaching. We have about 70. I'm a part of that coaching team as well. We have about 70 coaches. And he's like, hey, do you want to do this Clifton Strengths thing? I'm like, Clifton's, I took that. I'm yellow, whatever. He's like, no, this coaching is really transformational. I'm like, bro, we've done everything, right? I've done every assessment. I've done all this stuff. He's like, no, it's really good. I'm like, okay, for you, Dave, if it's free, I'll do it for you. You need a client, I'll do it. So he takes me through this thing. And like the first or second session, it blew me away because my number one is self-assurance, which means I believe I'm always right. I know that sounds arrogant for some people, but it's just how my brain works.
He's like, but I am.
But I am. Right?
But if you're
I was
right,
wrong once.
are you arrogant?
Yeah,
Right.
if I'm right, am I arrogant? I don't think so, right?
Yeah.
But for people who don't have that, even that comment is, oh my God, you're so arrogant, right? You have it too, actually, at like 10 or 11, I think.
Shocker.
No surprise. Well, you laughed, so I know you have it, right? It's that simple. So I did that.
We haven't looked at it at all. We just
we'll
took
hop
it and
in.
sent it to you. So you'll
And
have
I thought, man, I got to be a coach. 2 sessions. I got to be a coach. And I'm an activator, so I want to do things right now.
Yeah.
So I didn't even ask. It's like a $10,000 pool. And I thought, I could probably make money from it. Yeah, right. And so he finished with him, and then I started my coaching program. And then I took about 3 years to get my ACC, which is the International Federation of Coaching, the ICF, or Coaching Federation, has their first level of coaches is an ACC, which is an associate certified coach. And I'm currently a professional certified coach, second level up. And to be a master, you need like, I don't know, 20,000 hours or something. I don't have that.
probably close.
And then somewhere along the way, we went to DC for 2 years to work for my buddy in Congress. I really didn't like it. The role fit was really bad. And then during COVID, it was horrific. And so I quit. He let me quit. I quit, and we came back down here and moved to Destin. We used to live in Fort Walton.
Mm-hmm.
And then somewhere in that time frame, I thought, I should start my own company. So I started Rocket Fuel Coach. And the name is really from one of my guys I trained. He said that his review was I turned what he thought were his weaknesses into rocket fuel for his success. So I thought, ooh, that'll preach.
Yeah.
I want to use that.
I'm going to use
And
that.
you're flying rockets, essentially.
And
I'm
flying
sure.
rockets, so it's good.
know.
Yeah, so.
Very true.
Why not here in Destin with Eglin Air Force Base?
Yeah, exactly.
I see your logo here. It's good.
Yeah, so
I
that's
like
what we
it.
do.
Subliminal.
In general, we are leadership coaches. I usually work with executives. I like working with CEOs and their teams. We want to help them become very courageous leaders in both who they are and who they're not, and help their teams reduce conflict. That's kind of the big thing we like to do.
Mm-hmm.
We work with couples, so if I have a client who is done the deep dive, we do a 3-month deep dive through the Clifton Strengths. If they do that, then I usually have them, if they will, have their wife do it, because we found that with conflict in general, about 50% of personality difference. That's it. You creates friction and you don't like it because you're not like me and I'm not like you and we have different needs. So you're weird and I'm right.
Yeah.
Right?
See, we're right.
Right, and we're right. And so that's what we do. I brought this because I thought I'll just show you some, if it's okay, I'll just show you some little stuff. This is just information, right? It's just so you
It's
can see
great.
it.
Too?
What?
You said you had one for me.
This
Or
is
it
art.
We can share.
Are you going to share
Yeah.
with me?
Yeah, you have to share.
And we can pop all this up here on the screen too.
Yeah, of course. And I can send you slides for all these
Okay.
things. Basically, the things that we look at, we all in our businesses, we solve problems, right? Somebody has a problem, we have a solution. So the problems that we're looking for are people who are afraid they'll find out they have imposter syndrome. Others figure out I don't know what I'm doing, right?
Yep.
Exhausted by their responsibilities, isolated or lonely in leadership, stuck or insecure about making decisions, frustrated with unnecessary conflict, they don't want to get out of it, worn out from no work-life balance. Lots of people who are CEOs are like that. And they're stuck working in, not on their business.
Yep, big time.
A lot of business owners are really lonely because who are you going to talk to? You're a CEO, you got your C-suite, but you can't talk to them because if you talk to your CFO, they might leave. Or if you tell them things you're going to do, they might get all freaked out.
Right.
So a lot of times they end up very isolated and alone and without mentors. So what I like to be is a guide by their side over the long haul to help them, remind them, hey, remember you did this 14 times. didn't really work out the last time, 14. It's okay, but do you want to keep doing that, or is there something else? And really, month to month, just looking at their problems, looking at their Cliftons, and help them to gain a lot of confidence in their decision-making processes and how they execute their life. Does that make sense?
Where did
They both have
Clifton's?
self-assurance at 11.
Yes, exactly.
I thought
So-
maybe David did too because of
Yeah.
his response.
Is where did the word Clifton come from? Like, what,
Yeah,
is
so-
people-
Donald Clifton developed this assessment back in the 50s.
okay,
And he, one of my favorite quotes from him is, it's like, why not focus on people's strengths instead of their weaknesses to help them?
so these are all Clifton. They call these
Yeah,
personality
they're
traits.
Clifton
Strengths
strengths.
Okay.
assessment.
And basically, if you
Fun.
turn to this, if you look at this, you guys both have one, so
Okay.
you can look at yours individually.
Give me
These are
Which one's
Clifton's
yours?
has a different color. We use this because Clifton's has changed them a couple of times, and we've just standardized them. So this is what we always use, right? When you look at your talents, there are 34 talents. A talent is a natural way of thinking, behaving, or responding to the world. And those 34 talents, everybody has them. They're in varying amounts. And the analogy I like to use is the top ones are like on a cake recipe for you, a cup. So you have a cup of input, you have a cup of arranger. That goes down somewhere to about 15 or so, typically. The bottom ones are like a pinch. So a cup of cayenne and a pinch of sugar.
But I have a pinch of intellect.
Intellection.
I love, this is the best one that you are a
Woo.
cup of woo, and I'm a,
Woo!
Got nothing.
You got like
I've
no
got
woo.
Got nothing. Well, that means you see her right now. She's smiling. She's a cheerleader, and you were very serious.
we call her a woo girl.
That's
But, like,
right.
I'm
Exactly.
my discipline is low. Yours is probably close to the top.
No,
Yeah.
it's right in the middle.
Okay, all right.
No, and the middle ones are things. If you think about it, top 15 are things you can't turn off. If I tell you to, if I tell Steph not to be strategic, or you, not to be strategic, well, I can try, but you'd have to actively suppress it, not to
Yeah.
communicate those strategic ideas to people, right? If you go to the bottom, discipline is order, right? It's not grit. That's what we think of discipline. This means order. So I imagine you struggle to keep things in order at the house and other places, and you don't
Or
have a
she
need
uses
for it.
other things to do it.
Yeah, or you
but
use
not
other
out of
things to do
that,
it,
yeah.
right?
I'm glad you're here.
Right.
My priorities are other stuff.
Woo. David never cares to to meet another new person in his whole life, ever. We're good. But you, on the other hand, would like to meet everybody new all the time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Here, let me tell you. You tell me that I like to do this with
Okay.
people. If this is
Yeah,
okay.
she gets in a conversation with somebody at an event. I back into the bush,
Right.
and then leave her. And she's
Right, of
like,
course, and
I
she's
just
good.
got their phone numbers, and they're so sweet.
Yeah, us
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Us too. We're like you guys. We are fairly opposites.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I still like meeting people. I just can't do it the
Yeah,
whole
but
time.
you just
Yeah.
don't. You don't
Well,
have. Well, it's
are
not
you a
that you
woo?
don't like it. You don't have a
No.
need for it.
Yeah,
Hey, do you wanna go out
don't
this week
have
and
it
meet
as
10 new
low as
people? I
David,
got
mine's
something
at
to do.
32.
I'm busy
like
that
that
day.
yet.
I got
Exactly.
too much to do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this, Steph, tell me if this is who you
Okay.
are. I'm just going to read off some of the ideas from the top 15, and you tell me if that's who you are.
Okay, deal.
So you love random data, and you love to collect things. You're a cheerleader who sees that everything works out for a reason. You like to do it right now. You really like deep relationships, but you also like a lot of broad relationships. You dream about the future all the time, and typically you probably live your life with your gut, that there's this gut feeling of what needs to happen. You don't need a lot of data, and you do that. You probably love to coach or develop people. You absolutely love meeting new people and networking people. Love to achieve stuff, so you check stuff off. You have self-assurance, so you are right. You believe that you are right. If you've made a decision, you know you're right unless somebody can prove you wrong. You have command at 12, which means if no one's in charge, I'm in charge, right? You probably hate being told what to do.
Oh wow, that is good.
You have restorative, which is let me tell you what's wrong with that fairy. But what it's actually is, it's restoration. It's, if you think about a jigsaw puzzle, you want it finished. You want 100%. You don't want to add to the jigsaw puzzle. You just want everything 100%.
I even think it's like an old piece of furniture. You can see how it
Yes.
can be made usable
Yes.
and new again.
And that's that
Restoring it
restore
to its
part,
glory.
right?
Yeah.
That's good.
You feel everything that people around you feel. You love to communicate, and you love to wordsmith things so that it's just the right way. Would you say that's true for you?
Spot on.
So
Spot
tell me
on.
if you'd hire you for this job. You're going to do this job. You have to be very exacting and deliberate. You have to reduce you can't take a lot of risk. You got to make sure the risks are super reduced. You got to always think about the history of everything and write about the history. Make sure there's lots of order. Make sure there's always peace in the relationships. You have to sit and learn all the time about this historical stuff. Make sure you have all the right rules and take everything good to great, and just kind of do that from a job where you're just thinking about it. You're not actually going to do anything. You want to sign up for that job? Sounds like a nightmare, right?
Yeah, sounds like the opposite of what I want.
It would be, right?
Isn't that your perfect job?
No.
That's your bottom 8. It
Oh,
is
okay.
funny, you know, when I went to the Army, I thought this would be the sexiest job ever, but I was stuck in my bottom 10. And I really, after 2 years, there's nothing much else to learn. So I was just bored out of my mind. And you can't influence many people.
That was a trick question because I was like, I mean, I could,
Right?
but immediately I was like, mm-mm.
And you see how you don't want to even admit that you
Yeah.
have problems that
Yeah.
you don't want to do? And that's where if
Actually, I would say you could still do a good job
Yeah.
at doing it. You
I just don't
it
want
would
to.
drain you.
It would drain me.
Yeah.
Which is
Having-
most of her life doing stuff like that, where
I've
she
thrown into those
scales
positions.
big
Yeah.
businesses and they keep succeeding, but
Yeah.
at home she's just miserable because she's
Yeah.
draining it and
Yeah.
taking on too much all the time.
well, and what we would do, you know, like if we were coaching and you were having that problem, we would figure out, well, what do you love doing? We're going to do that. Everything you do not like to do or you put off, you should hire an assistant. If you're a boss and you make, so let's say you make $70 an hour, and you could hire this out for 15, you're wasting the company's money if you don't.
Right.
But we don't think that way. We're cheap.
Right.
And we
want
don't
that
want to
whole
hire it out.
70.
But we've talked about that so many times where I've said, I can do this. I just don't want to.
Yeah, but you
I
shouldn't.
can.
Well, and you think about it. If let's say that you like you use David and you, if you have a task that costs you an hour to do it and it costs him 10 minutes to do it, who should do it?
We talk about this all the
This
time.
is easy.
Yeah.
If you've ever
Yeah.
never read E-Myth, E-Myth is a great book. And basically what they did, the guy made this third company. He made a list of everything they had to do. There's 2 people and they went, do you like this? Yes, I'll do that. Do you like that? No. Okay, I'll do that. You know, and whatever they liked, that guy, they picked it and they got those jobs. One guy ended up with 75% of the jobs. The other guy had 25%. So then as they built the business, as they hired people, they simply hired out the guy who had the most work. They just kept hiring out until they were pretty equal, and then they both started dropping stuff.
Love that.
Phenomenal.
I bet they scaled it so quickly.
Yeah, scale
too.
super quickly because if you like what you do, you'll do it.
Right.
So,
True.
and we really tell people, you know, it's like CrossFit, you know, focus on your weaknesses, you'll rise to dominance. That's not true. It's just the opposite. If you focus on your weaknesses, you'll probably get burnout.
Yep.
If you get stuck
So
doing a lot of
true.
things you hate doing.
Yeah.
Can I do you too?
Do me.
So you hate inefficiency. You like to arrange things. Everything is a competition, no matter what. You love rules. You like deep relationships, a few deep relationships. You love to learn. You love to check stuff off. You have both the ability to be very concrete and gather data, as well as having a gut feeling. So I assume you probably in your decisions probably always have kind of a gut feeling, but you feel more comfortable if you have enough data to prove it. Like her, dreaming about the future. Positivity at 10. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. So,
I don't seem positive to you.
you saw, no.
You like to have fun.
I thought
You like
you
to
had
have fun.
said you
I
didn't.
like to have fun.
You like to have fun and you smile, right? So you can tell most people with positivity smile a lot. You know you're right as well. Super focused. So like if you're at a task, like at the computer, and somebody walks up, it might be hard for them to get your attention because you're so focused on stuff. I have that too. You probably hate stereotypes. You like, you know, everyone, one size does not fit all. You're an individual.
Yep.
If you say you'll do it, done. You have responsibility, which is ownership. You say, yes, I'll do it, you'll do it. But if I ask you to do something, you're like, oh, okay, I'll get to that. I'm like, no. You have to tell me yes or no. And you're like, I don't want to tell you yes or no because I have to say no because I'm not going to do
That's
it.
where we're opposite.
Yeah. Well, meaning, especially if you think I thought you ought to,
Yeah.
then you might hedge and go, well, I'll try to get to that.
You'll rebel against it a little.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't want to say no. He has a strong need not to. He has a strong need to say yes to everything if it's irresponsible not to. Right. History. Love history.
He also knows he's right.
And you know you're right.
Just ask me.
It's right. If you don't know, ask me. I'll tell you.
Look, you're smiling. You got some positivity
I do
there.
smile. No, I don't. I'm not a negative. It's funny we talk about this. So, the terms I use are not the definitions of the words. I am a very positive. Actually, I will say I'm a positive person. I'm not
Cheers.
negative.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm a realist. I am a realist. which is kind of the opposite of not having positivity as well.
Uh-huh.
But positivity is my first non-talent.
It's my first non-talent.
I'm not a
Yeah.
cheerleader. I
Meaning
can encourage people.
she's
but
the
it's like,
little
come on,
girl.
you can
It's
do it.
16.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
16?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Yeah, the rule one's interesting to me to hear because it's like I'm kind of a rule bender, but being with her, she's so much the opposite to where like if we're going somewhere, I'm like, I don't think we can be back here. She's like, we're fine. Like that type of rules. I'm like, you're not allowed to go back there. What are we doing?
It's
Yes,
like, don't touch,
yes.
this is
That
hot.
kind of
I'm like,
stuff.
no, I
Yeah.
gotta touch it.
Because I'm like, I think that comes from being a kid getting in trouble too much
Yeah.
type thing.
Yeah.
Well,
But when
you'll
it comes
s-
to like society saying you can't do this or wear a mask, I'm like,
Yeah, well, that's some of that. I think too.
I know I don't like to be told what to do. Right?
I don't
With
either.
responsibility, you don't like to be told how to do things or
That's-
what to do.
that's
Correct.
where
We saw
both
these
side by
shadow
side.
people have masks on. I'm like, who do they think they are? Why are they telling me I need to wear a mask if
Yeah,
I don't want to wear a
exactly.
mask?
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm not by anybody. I'm outdoors.
Exactly.
Right?
I'm in the middle of the oceon on
And that's,
paddleboard.
I
Why are
think,
they
comes from
mad at me?
responsibility.
Yeah.
Because I have consistency at 4.
I get
So
that
I
now.
understand. I understand why there are rules.
Mhm.
And I think, well, yes, my profession played into that. We had rules in the hospital.
Oh, yeah, as a nurse.
But it's like, and they're there for a reason. They're keeping order. That's why
Yeah,
they're
order's
there. They may
different
seem
than
stupid
telling you
and
what to do all the time. That's where it is.
obsolete now, but they were there for a reason.
Yeah, I get
But
that.
Remember too, I said, these are like a cake recipe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because you have your individual talents, the odds, I didn't say this, the odds that you guys would have the same top 5 are 1 in 43
279.
million. I
That
forget.
was-
Exact same time.
It's
it's
that you would have the
279
exact
million.
same
We
5.
have, we
Here
have,
it is.
We have one
Is
in the
1
front?
in 1 in
Wait,
33 million. The,
Oh,
the
one in
odds that you'd have the
later.
same top 5 in the same order
Uh-huh.
is 1 in 33 million. So there's
Wow.
23 people with your top 5 in that order,
Wow.
right? The odds that you'd have the same top 10 is 1 in 447 trillion. No one ever.
And to have
Sands
go into
in the
business with
stars.
one of those people is probably a bad idea because
Probably because you would
we're doing the
annoy
same
each other.
thing.
You'd be the same.
And you'd want to both have the same job, right?
Yeah.
Or
And
I
the
want her
o-
to go do the stuff I don't want to do. Because
Exactly.
she likes it and I don't.
Exactly. The odds that you'd have all 34 in the same order are 1 in 259 undecillion, which is 36 zeros. Stars in the sky.
It's not
Now
even
the
a
crazy
word.
thing, right? That means you're unique. Only you are who you are, and only you can bring your contribution. And if you don't, the world's sadder. And that's one of the things I like the most about the Cliftons, because I used to probably really judge people a lot because they weren't like me. Now I can hear the talents, and though I still get frustrated with people that aren't like me, I understand it. So then I try to bridge the gap to try to help them figure this out, right? And that's one of the things I like doing with teams is. You guys, the common ground grid shows where you have the most possible conflict possible, right?
Is that this one?
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
That's one I made.
Oh,
It's a little
cool.
tool that I
Just
made.
noticed was in here too.
It's
And
right
thanks for
there.
your patience. I know we sent this to you.
No, I looked and you don't have discipline.
Discipline's not
So I'm
mine.
like, yeah, she'll figure it out.
You should have asked
Hey,
David.
could I ask you again and
No,
again?
I meant
and
I
again?
thought you said put hours in it.
Oh,
But I
yeah.
appreciate you not
Yeah.
taking it personally. That was part of.
Yeah. Well, especially it's the other reason I like it. I'm like, oh yeah, she's not going to get back to me.
But when you were talking about earlier, what was it? Something about responsibility. When you say yes, you're going to do it, you do it.
Have to do it.
That's where we are
Oh, yeah.
opposite. Where if she asked me to do something, I'll be like walking down the hallway with the ladder immediately. She's like, "What are you
Right.
doing?" I didn't mean right now. I'm like, "Yeah, but you asked." And when I ask her to do something, I'm standing there waiting, like hanging off something. Like, "Are you coming to help?" She's like, "I didn't know you meant now."
We
Like that's the difference in the.
We've
Yeah.
been
That
together
part.
15 years, and we laugh sometimes because we're still learning about each other.
I'm like hanging
And
off the
you were-
roof. Can you help me? Sure. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I've been up here 5 minutes. Can
Yeah.
you help me?
Like our favorite is that's a good story that we share about the now. Help me means now,
Yeah,
where I'm like,
yeah,
sure, you
yeah.
didn't
Sometime.
specify.
Yeah, exactly.
And then our other one is like cleaning. We've learned. He's like, yeah, I spent all day cleaning. I'm like, the house is a mess. But for David, cleaning is
You're full of
get
it.
the
You're
clutter
not.
off.
Right.
Cleaning for me is cleaning light
Clean the
switches
toilet.
and fans. Like I like to deep clean.
Right.
Those are
And
clean
so-
when I'm done too.
Not the same, but we had to learn.
Yeah.
We just clean different. So
Correct.
what
This is
clean
what our
means,
island on the kitchen will have this like clutter everywhere, and
Mm-hmm.
she still thinks it's cleaning the house. I'm like, yeah, but I want the visual appeal to look perfect.
it'll
and
be
someone
there'll be
else's.
clutter, but like the grains of the wood will be crusted out with a toothbrush. So we're different. We just
Yeah.
so we're still learning that communication in our
34
marriage.
years in, we're still learning, right?
still
And actually,
learn,
this has
yeah.
been helpful. The last 4 or 5 years, I feel like has been very super helpful. We've had a great marriage. I think it's even gotten better because we don't really argue much anymore.
Yeah.
And if one of us kind of gets frustrated, the other one is usually like, hey, calm down. Calm down.
That's
Usually
what I
it's
do,
her.
too.
But you don't want to
Usually
hear that. Like,
Come back, Banner. Come back, Banner.
The moon's going down, sun's going down.
or when
Sun's
someone's like,
coming out, big guy.
relax.
Is that what it is?
Relax.
Exactly.
You don't want to be told to relax when you're
Yeah.
heated. Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you're pregnant. She's like,
Exactly.
talk to me like that.
I know.
Is that why you're wearing green? You're gonna make me angry.
I'll become the Hulk.
Yeah,
But
we
this
did
is
this
fascinating.
in about 27 years into marriage.
Wow.
Yeah, and I know there was one thing Bill jokingly said it today, but it was like I would be waiting for him to tell me something, and he would say, "I was just about to do that," and
Arranger.
I was like, felt like he was lying to me, but he doesn't lie to
in a
me, but it
pattern.
would just make me angry.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of finally figured out he thought it was he was a ranger because he has these plates spinning around, and he's the next thing on his plate to do, but it keeps getting shifted.
But if I stop and go tell her, all the plates will fall. So I got to do this in kind of an order to make sure I don't forget. I don't have discipline. And the only thing I have is a ranger, so I got to focus and get it all right.
Yeah.
So I was about to get to it, but it just haven't yet.
So you have to get it all like organized in your
Yeah,
mind
efficiency.
first.
Arrangers are like, you think conductor, orchestrating. That's what an arranger does.
Okay.
And they love efficiency. They hate inefficiency. Like if I gave you a list of things you had to do every day, but it was super inefficient, and I said you can't move it, you'd have to
That would
burn
drive
it.
me
We'd have to
crazy.
burn that thing. I've quit. I have to vote with my feet.
Well, that's why. That's
A
another
ranger's
thing with
number
our,
one for you.
Is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's number one.
Well, that's why
Yeah.
we get into it with like anywhere. If she wants to drive or go somewhere, I'm like, we go there. Like
We're
I'm
here and
I
then
know
there and
the
then there.
Yeah.
and
stops
then-
or
Like
what's
the
correct.
best way
or
to
the
go,
exit.
yeah.
And she's
That's
like,
right.
I'm gonna go the way I know. I'm like, you're gonna go another 15 minutes past. Like,
Yeah.
so we have to
Yeah,
right now.
it's
Then, but
walking
okay.
through Walmart. Well, what all do you need?
Yeah,
We'll go
give me a
here and then
list.
there,
Yes.
and there, and there, there.
But sometimes we
there.
just
I go,
wanna
look, I got
Not
the
back
map.
and forth.
First, we'll go here.
Actually, I do that too.
No, I know
I have
you
a
do.
ranger.
She has
as
a
well,
ranger
yeah.
as
Do
well.
you?
Yeah.
We did. So if you want to look later,
Okay.
we showed you ours too. So you can see that we
It's
and
in
you
your booklet.
Okay.
both have a lot
Oh,
of
good, good,
possible.
good.
It's in the very back.
Okay.
Possible conflict,
one.
right? And I only did that because you have a lot of possible conflict. Which all that means is
Where do you see possible?
the red,
Little X's,
the red,
the reds.
red X's. And what that means is you've got talents and you've got talent and you've got overlap, and the conflict is over here where you have a talent that you don't have, or vice versa. But what that makes is very resilient team. It means you have more possibility to cover more things. And you can see on this other side, this is a list. If you guys were one person, and your talents were stacked,
Combined a little.
you're really good at relating, being cheerleaders, living in the future, being strategic, checking stuff off, getting stuff done, seeing that everything works for a ranger. You really don't. If you need philosophic work, you're not the one to do it. That's 34, right? If you
That's
need
intellection.
if you need everything to be beautiful, like 110%, you hire that out.
Yeah.
If you need to remember to include people to do things, hire that out. So you can see at the bottom, same with your discipline and your deliberative, the things at the bottom are things as a team in a business, you ought to sit down and think, well, do we have to do a bunch of this? And when we do, let's figure out a way to hire it out.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really helpful. Really helpful.
That is so awesome. So I work with this company. I partnered with a company called PlayLab. And
yeah, I know what it is.
we are looking to do things like this to bring play back into the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
I think this would be how do you do this on a scalable level? Like, would we bring you guys in as a partner? Would we bring you in as work for hire? Do you come in and assess a whole
Yeah,
company?
either
How do you
or.
guys do this on a
Workshop.
big scale? Yeah.
He does.
Yeah, so
we've
I-
done workshops
Yeah.
together
So
too.
you bring them
Yeah.
in with companies, hire them out.
Because
they show
again,
up.
we can we're trying to make something like this
Dude,
in house,
I'd be
but it would
glad
be
to help you.
easier
Glad to help you.
to just it's already
Yeah.
done. It
Well,
sounds
because
like
we're
you guys
always,
Like
have
I'm
you need to
always
this.
hire
looking
out.
for
Yeah.
partnerships.
Right,
You
yeah.
know? And actually, I've done this a lot. Even in our company, I think I'm able to look at your stuff usually and see things that most of the people that don't, because I've done so many of them. I've probably, like I said, done about 250 of these deep dives. And then the deep dive, what I do is ask you questions like, hey, so David, so you have analytical and strategic. Analytical is concrete and strategic is really kind of a gut feeling. When you make decisions, what does that look like? I don't know. Do you have this gut feeling, you back it up with data, or do you have data and then you go to your gut? For you, what's that look like
That's a
as you
real
make a
question.
decision? Yeah, real question.
I like to probably get more concrete. Kind of like when someone asks if I could do something, I like to do a bunch of research before I say yes
Do
to
you
it.
immediately kind of know kind of what the direction you're going to go?
Yeah. It's usually a yes because I know she's going to tell me to do
well,
it.
because you know you can accomplish. It's like Steve Jobs, right? Oh yeah, we can sell 200 computers. We have one.
Exactly.
We can do that. It'd be right.
So
That's
someone
your
asks
strategic.
if I can do something, I always say, yeah, sure. And then whether I'm going to hire it out or I'm going to spend all night researching if I can actually
Correct. And if I took your analytical away, you'd be like my friend Teddy, who's like, oh yeah, we can do that. Whatever. We'll just figure it out. And I used to think you're lying. He's not lying. He is confident that if he thinks he can do it, he'll figure out a way to do it.
Yeah.
He literally will. And he does always, right?
Like Polly.
Right, Polly, same
Polly
thing.
probably
But
has that
because
on
you
his.
have analytical, you've got to have the data. You could make the decision if you had to, but you
Yeah.
probably don't feel safe doing it.
Correct.
Right. Whereas my buddy Teddy, hey, let's go do this. And he is completely confident that it'll work.
We have a
And
friend that
whereas
does that.
Steph as well, because she doesn't have this. Where's her analytical?
She says yes to everything.
She doesn't have deliberative.
No, it's
22.
low. It's
So
in the
you
middle. You
probably
can
are like,
do it,
You
but you
could,
don't
you'll
just
probably
know.
figure it out.
No, she
figure
says,
it out.
yes, my husband can do it, is
Yeah.
what she says every
Correct.
time. And then she says to me, I go, I don't know how to do that.
I figure
Correct.
it
And
out.
she goes, all right, well, let's either find someone or figure it out. So that's why I go into
Because I
it.
know he can. I know
Right.
he's
He can do
capable.
it.
He can do anything.
My
this
buddy
man
Teddy,
is brilliant.
right? Shout out
Yeah.
to Moz Coffee, Destin.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'm gonna open this coffee shop. How's it gonna work out? I don't know. It's gonna
We'll
work out.
figure it out.
We're gonna try it out. And
Yeah.
sure enough, it's a phenomenal and
There we
amazing
go.
place. Super successful.
That's so
I'll
cool.
trust my gut. I won't say yes unless I feel like there's something that can really happen, and then I'll
Yeah.
push him to like make it happen.
Well, and typically, if we're going to go into a company, what I my like perfect solution would be I come in and do a workshop. I usually have somebody do their assessment, and then we do a little intro 90-minute workshop and show people how powerful it is by doing what I did with you. And you know, everybody in the rooms would be like, "Oh my gosh," kind of like you guys are. That's exactly who you are.
Yeah.
That's so crazy, right? And we do that because we want to really affirm. And one of the things we do is I do what I did with the guy, and then I go around the room and say, hey, look at his top 15. And I know you don't really know exactly what these all mean, but how do you see his talents in the team? And when was the last time you've had 15 of your coworkers tell you how great you are? Has that ever happened? And what we found is it almost never happens. And so it's super affirming. One of the guys we did it with is like, oh my gosh, we should do this with everybody. Can you come back and do this with everybody?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And
Yeah,
so-
that's kind of the question is how do
Yeah.
you scale a room of 90 people? And do you go through each, can you do this with a big team?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So what we would typically do is do a workshop for intro, right? So people kind of know. Typically, I would do a deep dive with the CEO, if they'll let us. Any of their primary leaders, do the deep dive with all of them. We give them both these and the common ground. So as they're talking, and I also make a team grid. So as I talk to each of you, I talk about, well, this looks like, what's that look like for Tom, who does not have this? Oh my God, he is so like that, right? So they start to gain some confidence. If we do the deep dive with them, then we usually would have everyone in the company take the Cliftons and we make some charts so that you can see, so you can manage better.
Yeah.
You know, even if I don't know you, I could go, hey, I love that you love data and you're always making these really amazing decisions and you love dreaming about the future, and you would feel like that was awesome feedback, right?
Yeah.
And if I said, man, I love that you love meeting new people and developing people and love talking, you see how disingenuous it was found? If I have this about you, all my feedback will land because I know not to say things that I have woo. I love to meet people. Why don't you love to meet people?
I love that you're a woo
Right?
girl.
And so you can have, once you, as a leader, once you have everybody's stuff, you can actually give great feedback that lands every time. Like if you sit down and do a 6-month review and go,
It's like a cheat sheet.
what do they do? Oh yeah, they do this and that and that and that. Now I have some really positive things. And then if they're really areas where they're underperforming, you can look and go, they're never going to do that. How about, I know, are you struggling in this area? Do you think you need to improve it? Oh yeah, I know. I really try.
How did you know that?
How about how would you feel if we moved that to somebody else? Not take any money away.
Yeah.
But how about if we shifted to somebody who liked to do that? We could do that. That'd be great.
Right.
And if you do that repeatedly, like one of the workshops we do, we have people put up what they love and what they hate. And anything they hate, then everybody goes back around the room and they pull off stickies of anything that they liked that someone else hated. And then so now you realign people's tasks so everybody's doing
Job
what they like.
descriptions. This is exactly what we're doing with Play
Yep,
Lab.
that's what I do. And then
So awesome.
the last thing is you have 20 more stickies that no one picked up. Guess what? You have your next hire.
Right.
So then you hire, you use verbiage from the tasks you need that line up with these. And people, like I showed you earlier, you wouldn't sign up for that job. You'll sign up for the job because you like it.
Right.
Would it make sense?
Yeah.
So we do workshops. We
Wow.
would do deep dives with the leaders, and then often we would come in and do either workshops for, the the employees, or we also do 4, 6, and 8 hour workshops for the team, so they can get to know each other. They can understand more about the strengths. Even going through the deep dive, it's like it gives you a lesson to learn. And if you don't come back and revisit, one of my favorite coaches said, if I do a deep dive, that's like doing consulting. I tell you what to do. You learn all this stuff. If you don't follow that up with a year of coaching, it's probably gonna be useless. You'll forget. In 6 months, you'll forget. I actually took ours, and I keep it with me, because if we're frustrated or something, I'll go back and look and go, oh, that's right, I'm being a jerk. Dang it. Right?
Love it.
Because even though I know it a lot, I don't have her stuff memorized. I know in general what her tops are. And I did go all the red stuff. I decided anytime she says something to me that kind of hurts my feelings, she's not doing it on purpose. Like, she is restorative, which means she tells me what's wrong rather than what's right. But I'm really working hard to say, thank you, even though inside I'm like, oh, that kind of hurts my feelings. But thank you, and I appreciate you trying to solve that problem. And could you help me understand what I did well?
Wow.
And then she is reminded to go, yeah, you did a good job. And so we both, where we used to not either of us get our needs met, then we both get our needs met. And we have to learn. We take neuroscience on top of this, because neuroscience allows emotional maturity, so that if I get angry at you and you blow up on me, that's because you have low EQ. I should be able to even experience negative, hard emotions and not yell at you, not ghost you, not run away, but go, hey, bro, give me a minute, calm down. We need to talk about this and actually have those hard conversations.
How
and
do you
not
teach people not to explode?
You practice. I know people. Yeah, no, I know lots of
You
people.
have to do it yourself first.
Yeah, you have to learn
emulate
first,
it.
right?
Yeah.
So really the skill is this. You have to figure out first you're being triggered. Like I used to get when I get angry, I used to blow up on people, right? So I start to feel heat coming up my body. That's what I know I'm getting triggered. So when I do that, I need to go, we got to stop talking. I'll be back in 3 minutes. Go out and you do breathing techniques. We all know this, right? Breathe in for 4 seconds, out for 4 seconds, in for 4 seconds, out for 4 seconds. Do that for 2 minutes. Your brain turns back on. I'm back relational. My amygdala is trying to kill you, because when my amygdala fires, you are no longer a person. I'm not happy to be with you. And all I care is to get rid of this problem in front of me. That's why you say terrible things to people. And then you walk away and calm down. You're like, oh no, what did I say? I cannot believe I said that. And the people who are closest to you are the ones who usually get the brunt of that, because you start to feel like I'm allowed to be deregulated because they should know better. They did this to me. You know how I am. Well, that's who you are as a jerk. How about be who you are, who we like to meet?
Yeah.
And really what you're doing, you regulate. When you meet somebody brand new, guess what? You're full on. Hey, how you doing? I'm my best self. The goal is to try to figure out how to do that always.
Well, it's also, I think, too, though, if it's somebody else who's deregulating, how do you help them re-regulate?
Yes.
So there are some questions. I mean, sometimes it is like, first, you don't respond.
Yeah.
You stay calm, and then maybe say, wow, it seemed like that kind of really upset you. Or something that won't make them matter.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of energy there. What's going on, buddy? Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Well, yeah,
It's so
exactly.
true.
Some words might make it worse.
Right.
We're both surrounded by a lot of reactive people, though. And we try to, we're like, what? Or sometimes you don't even realize that you've triggered somebody.
No.
And you're like, oh, I
Yeah.
didn't mean that to come off that way.
Yeah.
Well, and even I'm triggering somebody sometimes. I stay pretty regulated these days. Now, it still bothers me. I still get frustrated about it, but I don't usually blow up on them. I just go back to my coaching. So it looks like you got a lot of energy there. Hey, what are you feeling? What else?
Yeah.
Hey, did I do something wrong? Yes, you did do something wrong. Like, okay, calm down.
Yeah.
You're starting to hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
So can we not? Could we put the guns away? Put the guns
And to
away.
humble yourself and to own it when you hurt someone's feelings.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
really,
Yeah.
that's
Correct.
hard. When
How to
someone's
put
like,
the-
man, that really triggered me, and to say, I'm so sorry. I wasn't
Whether
my
you
intention.
understand or not.
I am really
Right.
sorry.
Whether you or intended, right?
But we
Put
immediately
your-
want to
put your
defend
egos down.
ourselves.
Yeah.
We want to be like, well, no, I said that because you. We want to
Correct.
be right.
Correct.
It's
Actually, one
just-
thing I learned, as I know, because both of us as coach people, we understand the talents better than most people who go through the coaching. But as you learn about yourselves, you'll learn about other people too, because we go through all of them. So then you might think, oh, maybe this is why I frustrate this person all the time, because they're not the same as me.
Right.
Sure.
So
And that's
maybe they have this
okay.
talent and I'm pushing on it all the time. So you can even learn how, even if you don't know their talents, you can kind of think, well, I think this person doesn't like to move fast. They like to take their time making decisions, and you don't. So, but if you're working with someone like that, then you can think, okay, how can I give them time or freedom? Or ask them, what do you see that we need to figure out before we move on this?
Well, and like with David, if you guys are frustrated, a great thing to ask would be, well, do you see this as fair? What's going on? Do you feel this is unfair? And he will surely tell you why it's not fair and it's not right, and we should make more fairness, right? And learning those questions are super helpful. Anna has intellection high, not like us, which means she likes to think.
Brainiac.
We
No,
need you.
She is a brainiac. She's a philosophizer, right?
I love it.
So, for years, achiever. I like to get stuff done. So I would come in and go, hey, what'd you do today? And she'd be like, I don't know. Was there something I was supposed to do? And I thought, I want you to tell me, because if she asked me what I did, I'd probably tell you a list of things I did, because that's what I like to do, right? But I learned, she would ask me, like, hey, what are you thinking about? I'm like, that's a dumb idea. I didn't say this, but I think that's a dumb idea. Who cares? I don't know. I was thinking about this and that and this and this and this.
She
Because
asks me all the
ideation.
time, what do you think about it? I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly.
I'm deep. I like the depth.
1,000 things. I don't know.
I don't know.
like,
Well,
tell me all
I
of
list
them.
them now, and she'd be like, thank you. I'm like, why did you want that information? But I know now, if there's a lull in our conversation, the best question I can ask is, hey, what are you thinking about, baby? And she'll just tell me these cool, amazing things that are in her brain waiting to hop out. But if I don't ask, she might not tell me. Might not think to tell me.
Right, because she lives in the
Because she lives
Well, I
there.
need to think. Yeah, I actually, I mean, it's a need for me. Which I enjoy walking every morning. I have to walk our dog, but I enjoy walking because I just muse and think, and it gives my brain energy.
I love that.
When it's funny, I have included her, right? So then I feel bad, and I want to go with her, and she's like, I don't want to be mean, but
Not
could you
every
please
day.
not come with me every day?
I'm with her on that, though.
Right?
It's that's why I like to get up before her and get like that first hour of just like.
Well, you
Yeah,
have a lot of
think.
thinking talents,
Think.
so I mean, you like, and you have, I think, a strategic. Maybe.
Well, and you have a lot of thinking themes, but
Yeah.
you don't
That's
like
not
just
him.
to ponder without application. You want to ponder
Yeah.
to get ready to move.
I like to scheme and like think
Correct.
about how things are
Yeah,
gonna work
strategize.
the rest of the day.
right?
And I know that, like, I'll give you those morning hours.
No, she's
I'm not really a
you
morning
too.
person, but
Yeah,
I will
she-
give you.
Yeah, she's a night owl. I'm a morning person. It's like complete opposite. in that
But I
way.
know you need the morning time. Like, sometimes I can feel that he needs me to get out of the house just so he can have time to
Yeah,
do whatever he
to
needs
just do
to
what he needs
do.
to do.
But I hit my head on the pillow and I'm out. But that's when she wants to be like, let's have a serious conversation.
Right.
And I'm like,
done.
no.
What are you thinking?
I am a zombie right now. I'm going to bed.
I
It's
bet
off.
this is so helpful, not just in business, but obviously within marriages.
Oh, definitely.
Within
And with
learning
your
about
kids.
yourself, your family. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure we'll learn a lot about our kids.
Yeah,
as they-
and I think
do
it's
these
honestly, I think it's
change?
inherent. No,
Well,
these
slightly.
are
Well,
essentially.
They will
there's-
slightly, but if you took it, there's about an 80% chance each one will stay exactly where it is.
Mm-hmm.
They do shift a little bit up and down, about 5 or 6 talents.
kind of depending on what you're doing in
Yeah,
life.
depending on what
Right.
you're doing in life,
Yeah.
because you may use that a lot, so it kind of floats to the top. But then once you stop doing that, it floats back down. They've done studies, and there's about unless you have PTSD or severe stress, they don't flip top to bottom, right? So like if you think about your top 10 and your top bottom 8, they're probably going to stay pretty much rock solid no matter how many times you take it. And actually, they think the first time you take it is probably the most accurate because it's new to you. And then you start gaming the system because you might want, I want discipline. So do you like order? Yes.
Yeah.
No, actually, I don't like order, right?
Some of those questions were really hard for me to answer because I'm like, I'm both of these. I didn't
Right.
know which
Yeah.
one.
Or you
Yep.
like the discipline, but you struggle with being disciplined.
Right.
It's like,
Well,
so
it-
which one do you
yeah.
click
It would
on?
be like if I ask him, do you like concrete or intuitive data? He would say yes because he has both.
Right.
So then if he asks that question, it's going to be really hard.
Right.
But then he'll ask questions that pit other things. So then they can start to tell, oh, this is rank structured because when you pit these two things, this is higher.
Right.
You
Yeah.
pit these two things, this is higher. Does that make sense?
More
Yeah,
definitive on
yeah.
certain
That's
things.
interesting.
Yeah.
I missed a couple of the questions. I
We
mean, they
did
only give you
too.
20 seconds.
Yeah.
Gotta
yeah.
think
So,
about it.
We
and
did
some of it's
too.
like I have analytical and a little bit of deliberative, and you have strategic, so you're probably trying to choose the right answer.
Yeah.
The
I'm very
best one,
strategic. Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like there are different factors that come into that, which is like they don't want you to think about it all day
Right.
long to answer it.
Yeah, I had a
So.
girlfriend the other day. She was like, we were talking about manipulation and how manipulation can be negative. And I said, well, another word for manipulation is strategizing. And
Correct.
I love to strategize.
Correct.
And that can sometimes be taken as manipulative, but
Correct.
it's
Yeah.
not. To me, it's like,
Correct.
I can see
Well,
this
and-
puzzle. I want to put it together.
Yeah.
I've heard a good
Yes.
quote for this, right?
Yeah.
If if I do a strategy and it works out really good for you, will you feel manipulated or encouraged? If I do a strategy and it works out poor for you, will you feel manipulated or encouraged? You'll be manipulated.
Right.
This
Took
way you'll feel
advantage of
encouraged.
me. They
Right.
used
Yes.
Yeah.
So it really is not only the intent that you have and what happens to that person determines how they feel about that interaction.
Yeah, it's so true. Guys, we could
This
spend
is amazing.
all day in here dissecting and plan. Like this is, people love to learn about themselves. It helps us understand.
You're so selfish.
I know it can't. I know that it could be like that, but I could see how helpful this would be in business and relationships
Yeah, I
and
feel
family.
like this
and
conversation gonna keep going, and you'll have to.
Yeah, we'll have to
Steve
keep going.
I'm gonna
for
connect you.
Getting you.
Yeah, you
potential
should.
more business.
Well, and typically
Yeah.
in most companies, I don't want them to buy $10,000 worth of material.
Mm-hmm.
I would prefer one leader go through the deep dive, and if they thought it was good, what we found is most companies that buy from me, I'll do the owner, and he'll be like, "Oh my gosh!" And then he will just hire me for these other guys because he realizes how good it is that these people start realizing, oh, that person's not a jerk. They have these talents.
And you're
that's been
building
super
trust.
helpful. And building trust.
The
yeah.
trust part already, just sitting down and saying this is who you are. You're like, well, you pinned me, you
Yeah.
pinned him. I'm sure
Yeah.
you pinned people, and they're like, okay, now.
Yeah, it kind of freaks
do-
most people out.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, but people like. So how do we take this and help scale and dissect a business and get people where they need to be in
Yeah.
their job descriptions? To me, it's brilliant.
Well,
I
it
love
really
it.
is.
This is so fun.
All right.
Super helpful fighting the 6 dysfunctions in teams or the 5 dysfunctions in teams. So that's really what we're doing.
I love it. It's
Well,
so beneficial.
We're gonna continue this off camera for sure,
Awesome.
and then
Yeah.
keep it going from there. But gotta get this little one to basketball practice.
Yay.
Yay. Guys,
Thanks.
thank you for your
Well,
time.
thanks for coming
this
in.
was so fun. I loved hearing your story, learning a little bit more about you guys and how you started. And I love seeing you two as a pair and a power couple. It's very inspiring.
Heck yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
It's
Appreciate
been
it.
awesome.
Thank
We,
you so
we like
much.
each other.
Yeah, it
We
helps.
do,
It
yeah.
helps.
We like you too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. It's been super fun.
We'll put your information down below if people want to take the test or work with you. And
Yeah, that'd be great.
yeah, be fun.
Be
Just send that over.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great.
All right,
Appreciate it.
guys.
Thanks.
We'll
See
see
ya.
you.
Bye.
Bye.